And an airstrike hit a bomb shelter, hiding hundreds beneath a theatre, said local officials. The damage so complete, the entrance was reduced to rubble.
Russian troops targeted a theater in Mariupol, which of course was being used as a bomb shelter by hundreds of women and children. While the death toll is still uncertain, what we do know is that it was clearly targeted, even though there was signage near the building indicating that there were children inside. So I want to show you the satellite imagery. CNN put the boxes on the sign that says children. And it didn't matter to the Russian troops. They decided to shell the theater anyway. And so far, there is a little bit of good news, although the rescue effort is still underway. We know that there were a few people who were able, hundreds of people who were able to get out alive. In fact, one person says this: after an awful night of not knowing, we finally have good news from Mariupol on the morning of the 22nd day of the war. The bomb shelter of the theater was able to hold. The rubble is beginning to be cleared. People are coming out alive, and that's according to the former Donetsk region head who wrote this post on Facebook. It was not clear yet whether all of those who were sheltered in the theater had survived. Taruta, that is again the region head, said on Thursday that 1,300 people were in the building when it was bombed, and 130 people have so far been rescued. We have more details about this in the form of a video, so I wanted to go to that and we'll discuss further.
Satellite image from 2 days earlier showing the building standing with children written large outside. In case you're still thinking nobody knew who was here, videos had been circulating for days of the hell inside. How over a week of siege and shelling had forced those still living into a space so tight and dark it must have felt like a tomb. Here, he says, is where we give out food to children, women and elderly first. This is the converted cloakroom of the theatre. If this looks like how you imagined the end of the world, for these children packed in, that may have been the case when the bomb struck.
So the Russian troops are arguing, and this is right out of the Syria playbook, that it was a false flag, that the Ukrainians bombed themselves, that the Azov battalion carried out this attack. Let me just give you the history of the Azov battalion. The Azov battalion did not exist until Vladimir Putin decided to annex Crimea. The Azov battalion came up during that time. So the idea that the Azov battalion would carry out this kind of attack against, Ukrainians is so incredibly ridiculous. I mean,
no. I'm not entertaining nonsense.
It's the same garbage that we heard from Putin when they would do chemical attacks in Syria. The same exact thing. Always, this is what they do.
So in Syria, it was arguably even more absurd because they had their opponents in Syria had no air force, and the chemical weapons were dropped from the air. And you see how the missile crashed through the roof and is in the building. And they would say, don't care, the villagers did it. With what plane, okay? And so here they're like, oh, the Ukrainians who have almost nothing in the air other than Turkish drones, okay, somehow hit their own building packed with children to show the rest. Look, it's the oldest trick in the book, Reichstag fire, right? So I go murder you and then pretend you did it and then blame it all on you.
Yep.
It's fascism 101. So who loves it? Of course, Gray Zone does. So I went and checked on their Twitter on Aaron Mate because I thought, this is the same clown who did Putin propaganda in Syria and said that the Syrian civilians had bombed themselves. So I wonder if he's saying the same thing about the Ukrainians. And here's the tweet from today. The Ukrainian government is sharing pictures of civilians that its own missiles killed.
It's disgusting.
Total, utter lie to blame the Ukrainian civilians and the Ukrainian government for the mass murder that his Russian benefactors are doing right now in Ukraine. You disgust me, you propagandist prick.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was another attack. 21 people died after Russian artillery destroyed a school and community center. This was near Kharkiv. This was one of the latest reports in regard to a civilian area that was attacked by Russian troops. But I'm sure the story from the gray zone types will be that the members of this school bombed themselves. They did an airstrike on themselves. Who knows? We'll see. But they're not to be believed. It's like the most insane propaganda that makes no sense. And look, I don't know who their benefactors are. I find it incredibly strange that they just regurgitate everything that Putin says. They like sit there, wait for what Putin's talking point is gonna be and regurgitate it. You can see the videos for yourselves. You can look into it, dig into it for yourselves. Like, I think it's actually a good thing that unlike the Syria story, which was honestly a tragedy, people are actually paying attention to what's happening in Ukraine. They're following it closely. And so when you have these charlatans and these smear merchants go out there with their propaganda, their pro-Putin propaganda, it's easy to see them for who they really are.
Yeah, and we have a bizarre connection of Tucker Carlson and the most fake progressives you've ever seen in your life. Who is in favor of this madness by the Russian government that says, oh yeah, the Ukrainians had it coming? Is that the idea? The Ukrainians are bombing themselves? I mean, if you put it into a skit, they'd say, hey, you're over the top, brother. Nobody's gonna believe that they invaded their own country, dropped missiles on their own kids, and leveled all their own buildings. There's over 2,500 civilians dead in Mariupol. 80% of the buildings in Mariupol have been hit. They dropped 50 to 200 bombs on Mariupol every single day. What, the people of Ukraine are doing that to themselves? Is that what you think, Tucker Carlson? Is that what you think, Glenn Greenwald? Is that what you think, Max Blumenthal, Aaron Monte, Jimmy Dore? All of you sickos that love Putin for whatever reason you love him. I don't care if it's money. I don't care if it's just ideological. I just love fascists. I don't. Maybe that makes you hard. I don't know. But I know you're lying, and you're disgusting in every way.
So I wanted to also give an update on the story about the family that was trying to flee to safety. They were walking along a bridge that had been destroyed when Russians started shelling it. There was an image that went viral that showed a mother and her two children just lying there on the pavement. Well, we now have learned that the father of that family found out, well, how he found out about his family members dying is pretty heartbreaking. So let's take a look at the next video and we'll fill in the details.
It is difficult, but it is important to show this image because this image is how my next guest, Sergei Parabinas, found out that his children were killed by Russian fire. And he wants the world to know what happened.
I saw a photo on Twitter and I recognized my children. I recognized their things and their clothes. And I called my friends to say that children are dead. Their bodies are lying on pavement. And I asked them, please, could you help me to find my wife? My daughter, and my daughter was 9 years old. And what she liked dancing, painting, she studied English. They were normal, cheerful children.
That was Sergei Parabinas, who lost his wife, his 18-year-old son, and 9-year-old daughter.
We have been steadfast against war, whether it was in Iraq, Afghanistan, Gaza Strip, you name it, we're against it. Wars of aggression are war crimes. They are a crime against humanity. And to not be against this obvious war of aggression started by Vladimir Putin is unreal and it is inhuman. So if you're cheerleading for Putin out there, whoever you are and for whatever reason you're doing it, I don't know if I hope you can live with yourself or I just hope that you have a shred of humanity and you can't sleep at night. So I hope whatever the reason was that it was worth it because all those people are dead They were people's kids and grandmothers and aunts and uncles and dads and moms. And a lot more are gonna die on behalf of Vladimir Putin. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.